Hi there. Welcome back to Growth Catalyst Hub. In today's session, we are going to look at a very, very important and crucial topic. How do you find your strengths? Whether you are just starting out in your career or whether you are looking at moving up ahead in that career graph or looking at making a career shift, it's very important to understand what are your strengths if you want to excel in your career. What are your strengths and how do you go about finding it? That's what you're going to look at in today's session. Come, let's dive in. Think of strengths as the essential tools that you typically pack in your backpack when you start your journey. These are absolutely critical tools that are going to be there in the backpack. But how do you know what is there in the backpack? So in this session today, we are going to look at 5 simple ways of understanding your strengths and how to really go about understanding this. Let's dive in. Number 1, reflect on your past experiences. Think about those situations where you were phenomenally successful, or think about those situations where you were extremely productive, extremely happy doing things, where you could flawlessly execute things. What were the circumstances? What were you doing? Think about your natural strengths. Are you naturally good on numbers? Are you naturally good at words? Are you a person who's comfortable with himself, herself, or what we call as introverts? Or do you get your energy by being out there with people, or what we call as extroverted people? What is your natural inclination? Do you dive into something which is completely uncharted, completely new, completely complex things? Does that give you joy? Or are you more happy with something very, very structured, planned, and meticulously systematic things? What gives you comfort and what gives you the joy to do things? Think about this, because all of these natural inclinations help you devise, understand what you are blessed with, and which, if you can understand, you can unearth that and use that to propel your career forward. Now pause this video for a minute, take a paper, jot down what were the circumstances, what were you doing when you were very happy in terms of delivering things at office? What were your naturally great subjects, good subjects? What are you good at? What are you not so good at? You need to know that also. What are the things that people call upon as your expertise? What are the things when you do, you feel that you are in a flow? You don't have to worry about, thinking, you don't have to worry about looking at the time. Time passes by, flows by. What is it that you typically do when you get into that flow state? If you realize that, that will propel your career forward quickly. So please jot down right now. The second way that you can understand a lot more about yourself, a lot more about your strengths, is by simply asking for feedback from others. Ask for feedback from your coworkers. Ask for feedback from your boss. Ask for feedback from people who have been working with you in the workplace. When you do that, you will be able to realize that there are areas that you don't really think of them as your key strengths, but others are able to see that. And a lot of times it is very, very surprising to us that, oh, is this a strength? Is this how people perceive me? That aha moment can transform your life completely. Pause this video for a minute, jot down the names of the people from whom you are going to take that feedback. Number 3, you can use tools which are available. There are paid tools, there are free tools on the net which can help you identify your strengths. For example, in the array of paid tools, I would recommend CliftonStrengths, which is brought out by Gallup. I have taken it personally. It's a very, very useful tool. It identifies your top 5 strengths and in what is the priority order in which those strengths are coming out, and they're able to relate to it, and that understanding becomes the foundation on which they're able to propel their career. This is a paid tool. There are other tools which are completely free on the net. I'm in the link I'm going to give a list of those tools, but I would also suggest something like 16 personalities, which help you identify what is the stuff that you are made of. But these tools help you understand who you are, help you understand what your natural proclivities are, and hence help you understand your strengths. And this can be an enormously helpful thing when you are thinking about yourself, when you are thinking about putting your best foot forward. Go ahead, pause this video for a minute, look at what your strengths, at least look at, plan out in terms of when you are going to take this test so that you can discover more about yourself. 4, it's not a tool, but an important distinction between what I call a strength versus what people call as skills. There's a huge difference between the two. Skill is something that you learn, that people can be trained on. For example, typing is a skill. Coding is a skill. However, strength is something that is a natural tendency of the person to utilize the skills in a particular manner. For example, while coding is a skill, problem solving, thinking strategically are strengths, where your natural tendency, your natural ability also plays out along with your skill. So if your skill is backed by the natural strength, then it becomes a lot more magnified. For example, I know a person, let's call him Josh. He was in the graphic designing field. Very, very good graphic designer. That was his skill. He was trained in graphic designing. However, when he took the strength tests, he realized that he was very good at strategic thinking. Now, he could connect the dots because he was already doing a lot of storytelling in his field. You can do graphic designing for visiting cards, you can do graphic designing for strategically for brands, and the field is wide open. You can be at any end of the spectrum. However, he realized that because of his strength of strategic thinking, he was already doing storytelling, he was already doing a lot of brand work. And when he took the test, when he realized that strategic thinking was one of his key areas of strength, he decided to take a lot more of that kind of work, strategic kind of work, so that it fulfilled him in terms of his work satisfaction and also brought a lot more clients because his strength was, his skill of graphic designing was backed by his strength of strategic thinking, and therefore he was adding enormous value to his clients. So a lesson is simple. If you're able to get understanding of your strength and that strength backs your skill, then you have a winning combination and nobody can beat you. Find it out. The 5th one that I want to talk about as a tool to think about finding your strengths is, suppose you have understood what your strengths are, the question still reminds us to whether these strengths are aligned with your career goals. Are you in a position or you in a role which allows you to use these strengths? Very simple analogy. If your strength is, if you are born as a fish and your strength is swimming, if your role requires that you climb a tree, you will be a disaster. You can understand that, right? Fish's natural talent is swimming. And if you take that kind of talent, put in a place where the talent is completely unutilized, what happens to that person? So it could be a case where you are in a role where your strengths and what is expected of your work is completely misaligned or maybe not fully aligned. Let me take that. Let me give an example. I know a person by name, let's say Sharmila. Let's take her name as Sharmila. She was in HR. She was in basically salary negotiation kind of role. But what she understood was she was very good at conflict resolution. She was very, very good at talking to people and helping resolve the conflicts. When she understood this as her key strength that she's bringing to the table, then she sought transfer into areas or focus into areas where she can bring that kind of a talent into play, and she went very far in the HR field. So it's important for you to align what your talents are, what your strengths are, and completely align that with what your role demands. If both are matched completely perfectly, you have a fantastic winning combination. The point is to find the strengths first and see whether those can be brought to bear in your field of work. Let me share with you the story of Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx line of clothing, a revolutionary line of clothing. She started as a door-to-door fax selling person. She was completely unsatisfied in her job. While doing the job, she understood her strengths, her understanding of her strengths, that she was resilient. She could take no for an answer because after all, she was a salesperson. She had to knock door to door, and a lot of doors would obviously not buy the fax machine. She would get rejected door after door after door. But she was resilient. In spite of hating the job, she was doing a good job. It was not satisfying for her. But coming to her strengths, she understood that she is very, very resilient. She also understood that she loved to talk to people. That is the reason why she went into sales to start with. She also understood that she could spot problems, simplify them, and find solutions. And that's what kept her going. One day, she realized that she had to go to a meeting, but she did not have the right undergarments to wear for her white dress. That bothered her. She searched, she could not find the right match, and that became an aha moment. Every problem becomes somebody's opportunity, and here she could sense an opportunity. She had no background in fashion, she had no background in terms of designing shapewear, but she believed that there is an opportunity here. So she went to designing it in spite of having no formal education in fashion or designing. She thought of a shapewear which can fit into any kind of white clothes and can change the way women were wearing things. She went to different cloth lines with her idea, got rejected. She could take the rejection because she's used to it. She was very resilient. She also talked to mills, cloth mills, again got rejected. However, started her own line, called it Spanx, and the rest, as I say, is history. Her strengths were, again, to summarize, resilience, taking no, and in spite of rejections, working on that idea, talking to people, understanding them, understanding their problems, and figuring out an opportunity in that, simplifying those problems so that they can be given simpler, clear solutions. And that's the lesson that I take home from Sarah Blakely. How an understanding of herself, especially the resilience part, especially the ability to spot opportunities out of problems, how that understanding of herself can propel her from a door-to-door salesperson to a multi-billionaire with a very, very revered and popular clothes. In a nutshell, how can you go about this discovery of your strengths? One, think about the key moments that you were extremely happy, extremely productive, and people were praising you. What kind of things that you were doing? What kind of roles you were playing? What is indicating as your strength? The second, what is this theme which is emerging from different people's feedback? I'm asking you, requesting you to talk to many, many people, and what is the underlying theme? And there will be different themes. Three, you may also need to experiment and learn. Only when you do something, you will be even able to appreciate that, oh, I can do this. I never thought I can do this, but yes, I can do this. Like in the story of Sarah Blakely, she had no experience in fashion, but she still went ahead, experimented so that she could learn. Remember that your current skills don't really define you. Again, going back to Sarah Blakely example, she had no experience in fashion. Her current skills were the skill set of a salesperson because that's what she was doing. But she went beyond that because she could really understand that her skill is not door-to-door selling. Her skill is resilience. Her skill is not selling fax machines. Her skill is talking to people. Her skill is not making the sales number. Her skill, her talent, her strength is in finding opportunities and fulfilling those gaps. When she understood this, she became a multimillionaire. When you are able to understand your strengths truly, sky is the limit. Remember, your strengths, which can back every skill of yours and which are completely aligned to the role that you are playing, whether you are running your own company or whether you are playing a role in somebody else's company. When your talent and the skills are backed by your true strengths, that is when unlocking of superpowers happen. Discover those superpowers, unlock yourself. I'm sure you would like and subscribe to Growth Catalyst Sub. See you in our next episode.